Alright guys, so at this point I'm guessing that you have downloaded the PDF, and then we begin creating our components. With your software open, we begin from the page 4 of our PDF, because here we have on page 3 what we see all of the components together, which I have created towards combined assembly. However, we start from page 4 where we begin to create and model our wheel handle. Alright, so the structure looks very simple, yet the procedure that I've chosen to follow is a little bit weird. But yeah, we're just going to use that procedure. So what we're going to be doing right now is I move over to this point on my software to create a new sketch. I usually prefer to begin using the top plane, so I'll select on this plane. At first, we're going to be creating a bunch of construction lines or guidelines to enable us to adequately create what we intend to have. So I'll start from the origin point, and let me select on construction here. I'll click on Control and my scroller to pan around my screen for those who are complete beginners. I would just draw a construction line this way for my sake. Then I would say I switch off the construction for a while. I would draw a line, or let's say I draw two lines this way. I'm not so sure of their dimensions right now. Then I would, let's say I'll just dimension the distance between these two to be, according to our drawing, we have it as 40. So our construction and everything we are doing is in millimeters, but I guess millimeters is small, but we'll stick to it. And let me say, for complete beginners, if you somehow do not already have your unit configured, if you're using Fusion 360 like me, what you need to do is go over here, document settings, here millimeters, you select on this and change your dimension unit here. So for me, I retain my millimeters. We have 40 here, but we want it to be, let's say, symmetrical to this construction line. So I go to constraints, which we are going to be using a lot of times. I select on the first one, the second, and then this line. Alright, so what we'll do next is going to be to create a circle at this point. So the circle we're going to be creating is going to be, let's bring it downwards a little bit, of radius 17. So I would say 17 multiplied by 2. That's to give us the diameter of the circle. And I would say enter. At this point, the circle is not fully defined. So what we'll do is we go back to constraint and we use coincident. Let me know it's coincident. I'm not sure how it's going to react. So I use line, construction line again. I join these 2 points together, and I would say tangent. So this line, construction line, and this. Our next step is going to be to dimension the entire line here. But before that, I'll place equal to constraint. So the equal to constraint allows it so that whatever dimension is applied to this line affects the line below also. So they're going to be equal to each other at all points in time. Dimension, and our overall dimension as we have is 490. So I'll say this is 490. Yeah, so that's how we want it. I'll just drag this construction line backwards a little bit, and then our next thing would be I would create let's say an offset of this line, the construction line we created here, and then this offset will bring it towards the center of there's a hole we have there, so I'm going to like offset it by that distance to 156. So here I'll say minus 156 millimeters, and say okay. And then let's see, then our last thing to do is going to be something, I would say it's weird, but we're gonna do it. So I just create my construction line again and do something like this. I've done that one, and I'll do it again at the other side. Apply the symmetry constraint again, 1 and 2, and then I select this line. Then I would place a dimension between these two. Let's just say we make this to be 80. 80 is not bad. Alright, so at 80, the next thing, I'll create a line, select on this. From this point, I join it to the top of this circle, and yeah, so I would mirror this line across this. So that's that. I don't know why for now this seems to be okay, so I understand it right now. So what we're going to do is, for this line, construction line, I'll click on fix and select this construction line here. So now all of our sketches are fully defined. The last thing to do would be to close this up behind here. It looks a little bit weird what we're doing right now, but I assure you that there is a reason for doing this. Then I'll click on this construction line again and close it up here. Alright, so at this point I would say finish sketch, and this is what we have. It looks weird, but we're getting somewhere. So what we'll do is we're going to extrude this by 40. If you notice what we have at this point of the drawing, it tells us that the thickness also is 40 millimeters. So I would select on this part of this drawing and say one side no, so I make it to be symmetric, and the whole length, I'll select the whole length to be 40 millimeters, and so we have something like this. So say okay, I go over to my sketch, make it visible, and then for this part what we'll do is that okay, I guess we have to go back in here. So let's click on sketch and say edit sketch. There's something left which I eliminated, so I would change my construction line which I created here. Having done this, I would also create a line here. So the purpose of this is kind of weird, but as I said previously, I think I said that already, that the procedures I'm using might be different from what you decide to use. So we'll create a line here to close this or cut this also, and back to this view we go to revolve, and I select on just this quarter. My axis of rotation is going to be this, and then we have this here with us. Alright, so at this point, supposing that you can guess what we want to do next, which is going to be to loft between these two shapes. So I would say go over to create, search down, we have loft, and then I would select on this, let's see, not here, this face, and the other profile, which is going to be this face here. So with these two selected, I would say okay. Alright, it looks super weird to be honest with you, but this is what we want. So at this point we go over to the next step, and for this we're going to create a construction plane. So I would select plane between two edges. I'll select on this first edge, rotate, and select on the edge below here. So we have a plane that goes or cuts through in this manner. I say okay. The next thing, we go over to create sketch, we select on this sketch or on that plane, move it this way, and for my purpose I would change my display setting because I don't want it to be this way, so I'll just say wireframe. Can't really see it, so wireframe with visible edges. It looks super weird, but that's fine. So what we'll do here, we create a bunch of construction lines again. So from, let's see, this point, I'll make this sketch visible so we can use it for reference sake. So at this point, what we'll do is, okay, this is visible. I go to create and I go to intersect, right? So I guess I need to see my stuff for this. I'll select on these faces. I'll just select on all of the faces, to be honest, so I'm not really sure which one should work. So I'll say okay. Yep. So I could make those stuff to go back to wireframe with visible edges only. So plane, is that what it is? No. I'll finish the sketch, go back into the sketch, edit sketch. So at this point I create my construction line. What I just did right now, because I didn't know how to get back to the normal view, so I finished the sketch and went back to edit sketch, which brought me back here by default. So I go to construction. I would begin from, let's say we create a line here. I begin a line from the center where we have this triangle showing, so it snaps to the center of this of that line we just created. Poof. This is super weird. I'll draw it this way. Check. Okay, yeah. So I would create a line coming this way from somewhere around here, and say the line is this long. It should be a construction line. Make the body is invisible. Make this a construction line, and another here. Let's see, I draw another one towards the front this way. Bear in mind that they do not have dimensions yet, so for now I'm simply just drawing the lines to be dimensionless. Select filters, profiles. I need to uncheck profiles so that I can select this line itself. Alright, so we have this line. Oh man, this line, good, construction line. And so we have one, we have two, yep. And then we also create one here this way. It's a construction line. Let's make it this way, check mark. And lastly we create the last one somewhere here, construction line this way. So make dimensions. The distance between these two is going to be let's move this way. It's going to be 16.8. Then the distance between these two is going to be, let's make this 19.2. And then lastly we have what we have here. The last one will make this 19. Okay, this is not lastly. Make this 19.5, I guess, yeah, 19.5 millimeters, and then penultimately we make this one 38.1. D'accord. So that's good. With all of this done, our next thing now is just going to be to create some profiles. So I'll click on switch off the construction. I'll draw my circle on this line, the same diameter we used before, 34, and I would let's say draw a line here. It seems to me like I'm seeing new things I didn't see before. Construction line with these two, sorry, tangents. This is good. and then we would draw some circles. So the first circle we're going to do is just going to be something like this. It's not going to be a construction, so we just draw something this way. First of all, we skip over to this side. I would switch on my bodies to know where exactly I'm supposed to draw this particular one. So I want to draw it after this sharp edge, going inward a little bit, so it to be somewhere around here. So I would say this is back to wireframe with this. It's just weird because design can be so frustrating sometimes. So I'll draw something this way. Alright, so with that done there, I'll repeat another circle around here. I'm going to try not to make the circles to align with the ones that we've done previously. So I'm just going to do them at random, something like this. And lastly, I will draw a circle going this way. Alright, so with all this, I would deactivate the bodies and then begin to apply constraints. So first of all, I would like this circle to be tangential to this, right? And at the same time, I would like it to be tangential to this line we have here. So this and this. Alright, while also ensuring that the circle goes through this point here. So for that, I would say, I didn't see this coming, but I would have to do this. I'll draw a line this way, going this way, not a construction line, right? Or dimension this line. I'm drawing it after this sharp edge that we have here. Where is it? After this sharp edge here, so we have the construction line here. So not a construction line, sorry. So I would dimension this to be 71 according to what we have on our drawing. Yes, and alright, this is super weird. I'll draw another line from the center of this line here. I'll take it upwards. This is going to be a construction line now. So I'm drawing this line from the center of the line we just created, and so I would say the dimension or distance between these two. If I do that, I make this to be vertical, and the distance between this line here and then this line here is going to be 156. D'accord? Alright, so this is perfect. So at this point, what we'll do is I want this circle to touch this point. So I would use coincident, and let's see, this and this. Yeah, so this is what we have. It looks super weird, but trust me, this is what we want to have. At the end of the day, I would create a dimension between these two lines, this construction line and this one created here. Everything is becoming a little bit complicated, but that's just because the project or the handle is a little bit complicated. So I'll make this 20. So that's perfect. So we go over to the next side of our circles and whatnot. So this is going to be similar to what we just did. So I would make these two, first of all, to be coincident, right? Then let's see to be sure of what I'm doing. We have this small construction line we created that has 19.2. It's obviously at the wrong point, so I'll just select on one of these points here. Let's see, and drag it. Can it be dragged? Alright, so what I'll do is I'll do this here. Let's make this something like 100, so it's massive enough to do what we need to do. Alright, so we've extended it this way, and then we say tangent we want this circle to be tangential to this. Alright, and let's see, and also this circle tangential to this. D'accord. D'accord means okay in French. And lastly, we do the same thing here. So what we want at this point is going to be, this is tangential to this. Alright, this is tangential to this 19.5 circle line we have. So we don't actually have to bring it towards this direction, we just have to select the both of them and then it does it. And lastly, we have, remember we still have this construction line created here, which is at what distance? So the 38.1 millimeter distance. So what we want to do is that this circle here now is tangential to this construction line this way. Alright, so we have this in particular. At the end of the day, our next thing to do is gonna be to create a distance. So we create a construction line afresh this way, and we just draw it somewhere here. I'll make this construction line 20 in size. Don't worry, it feels a little bit weird, but so that's 20. And our last thing to do will be to first of all, I'll create a dimension, which is très important, very important. I'll create a dimension from this point here. Remember this line we created, this 71 millimeters. Create a dimension from this point up to this, the 20 millimeters construction line we just created, and then the distance between both of them is going to be 260 according to the drawing. So it's really complicated, to be honest with you. I never expected it. And then lastly, we create the tangent, sorry, not tangent, coincidence between these two, the circle and this point. So with that done, what we'll do is create a dimension for this massive circle we have here. So so I'll just say something like this. So let's make this somewhere around 50, and let's see how this works for us. Alright, so that 50, it is within this part, so it's supposed to be before this 260 dimension here. So 50 looks good, yeah. So we change this to 70. Or before we do that, make this circle equal to this circle, right? And then we change this to 70 or 60. I think 60 is not so bad. Alright. Should we make it 70? 90? Let's see what that does for us. Alright, so 90 is good also. So this is what we have. It looks super weird, but this is how it should be. So I'll go over to line, and I would pick from this point here. So I draw a line that way. I take it upwards. Sorry, it shouldn't be a construction line. Take it upwards, yeah, and then I draw a line also this way, and let's see here, and make it cut into this circle we have here. Alright, so the reason what I just did this is now just to have a kind of a profile here. It's a little bit weird, to be honest with you, but depending on what I've seen so far, this is what we want to have. This line actually doesn't have to cut, as I'm looking at it right now. So with all of this done, the dimension of this line is also not important. So let's just make it 460. It's actually not important, and the height is also massively not important, so but we'll just make it 125. So at this point I go to finish sketch, I make my body visible in this view or rotated, then I go to revolve. So you need to pay attention to what I'm going to be selecting right now. So with this I'm going to select a couple of structures, or I don't know if I should call it structures. So I select on this profile, I select on this profile. I don't need these extra ones here. Then I select on this, I select on everything within here, and I select on this circle. So with all of this selected, what we have is something like this. You should also have this, and the axis will be the center axis we have here. And instead of create, we use cut. So objects to cut, just one object, so we simply say okay, and then we have something that looks good and nice like this. So we notice that now it looks very much similar to the figure or the shape that we have. It took a long process to get to this point, but I mean, if you take a look at it from the side, or let's say this view, it looks just like what we have. If you take a look at it from the front, it looks just like what we have, and from the top. So it's kind of tricky, but it required us to have like I would say full understanding of how to manipulate what we're doing to achieve this particular structure. So we have just 2 more things to do, and I would say they are the simplest parts of this, or a few things to do. So we notice at the base of this we have a radius, a fillet. So what we do is we just go over to fillet, and I do not suppose it is everywhere. Yeah, so it's not all true, it's not roundabout, because on the top view we do not see it. So what we just do is we select 1 and 2, we change the radius. It is radius, right? Yeah, radius of 8, make it this way. It looks large. But that's fine, and then we say okay. Our next thing will be to go to create sketch. We come over to this, we place a sketch at the center, so we place a circle here. The circle is of diameter 6.5, so we place 6.5, and the distance with this edge for this circle is 22. That's super weird. 22, which means there's something missing. So we're going to be able to check back on our dimensions to see that okay, probably a mistake we made can be rectified. So I would say finish sketch, and I would, for this one, extrude this circle. It's going to be an extrusion cut, all true. Okay, and I select on sketch again, this top plane, and I'll draw a circle somewhere here. Let's just say somewhere here, and then the diameter of this is 10. Right, I'll make this sketch visible, and the distance between this line here, we have a construction line here, and the center of this is 156. Let's say enter. Alright, so with that, finish sketch and extrude again. Isometric view, select on this, and we drag it all the way down because it goes all through as seen with these hidden lines here, and cut it. Alright, so with all this done, I guess what we just have to do is to cross check why this looks very small as compared to what I think we should have. This is 22, but it looks really minute and it's very close to this curve here. I'm not so sure why it is this way, but you know what, I guess what we're going to do is we just check to inspect the distance between this point here and this point here. So it is 278, so obviously there's a mistake. It should be 260. So what we do is we go back. Let's see. So that's 260. From this point to this point, we have 47.79. I guess the problem is going to be the what's it called, the diameter of the circles that we chose. So what we can do is simply to come back. Let's see here. Is it? I don't know where it is now. Do on. So sketch 5. Okay, that's that. So it's definitely sketch 3. So edit sketch 3 or our second sketch, and we have a little bit of weird stuff going on here. So this is 71, and this is the reason why we're having this problem right now is because the dimension is actually not given for these circles. But if it were to be given, then we definitely will not be having this problem we're having right now. So I guess we just make this, I don't know, smaller rather than larger. Instead of 90, let's make it 40. It's going to change what we have drastically, but it should still be good. Finish sketch. Ctrl Z. Alright, so if we change that to 40, we have to reduce this to say 420. Is it? No. So let's make this or you know what, I'll just remove this dimension. All we need is for it to cross this circle here somewhere after our point 360. The best thing I guess we can do is just to make these two tangential to each other. So irrespective of how we change this 40 millimeters, this is always going to be there. Alright, so placing the tangential constraint, and we have changed this to 40. Our next thing to do is just to create a line, a random line to be honest, to just go upwards in this direction. The purpose is we want to create a margin or a separation between this space here and this space here. And then when we finish the sketch, it gets all messed up obviously. So all we can do is delete the previous revolve and we apply it afresh to save ourselves the stress of weird selection processes. That's number 1. I would say this should be number 2. We wouldn't select this point or this space here. We select this. We select this circle, right? We select this circle. So what we have now has been adjusted and it looks like this. So the axis of revolution is a center line here. And notice what we have. It looks far more similar to what we should have. So I can make this invisible now, and then we have this, which means taking a look at it from the front, the space here is more, the curve here is lesser than it was previously, and then everything is done to perfection. Alright, so at the end of this, since we are done, the next thing for us to do is to save our part file. So I'll see you in the next part.